What's up, guys? Let's talk about why seated shoulder presses are better than military or standing shoulder presses. Now, really, they're not better. They're just different. Now, what's different about them will actually make you stronger overall for when you are standing. So, for example, when you're doing a seated exercise like this, what you have to do first of all is you have to be flexible and mobile enough to make sure that you can sit up straight. If your hip flexors are too tight and you're having trouble sitting upright, then you're gonna have to stretch out and find that mobility. Same thing, if your hamstrings are too tight, they'll probably pull your hips out of alignment. Now, one thing is to stretch, and another thing is to actually force your body to stretch while you're exercising. For example, if I'm flexing as hard as possible when I'm doing this seated position, and I can stretch myself, loosen up, get to a point where I can sit upright if I'm having trouble. As I start pressing, then all my muscles have to flex to keep me in this position so long as I'm honest about my form. As I'm holding this position, your body's forcing to flex those muscles and contract the opposite muscles. So that's actually a better way to learn how to stretch because you're having kind of a 2-for-1 impact. Instead of just working out or just stretching, you're doing both. So you have to find those exercises that will challenge you not only to get better and stronger if you're working on your shoulders, doing a shoulder press, but doing a seated shoulder press will help you improve your hip flexors. And again, it will help you when you come back and do the variation where you're using your legs, or maybe even push presses or thrusters, whatever it might be called. So you can do this exercise, seated shoulder presses, with a barbell. You can do it with kettlebells, with dumbbells, anything like that. And you can do light weights, and if you can't do very light weights or don't have them, you can actually do this with a broomstick, right? Because you're gonna build mobility. And again, you're gonna find out whether your hip flexors are tight or if they're weak, or if it's your lower back and glutes that are tight or your hamstrings. And if you don't know how to stretch those, check out some of the other videos on how to stretch for the hips and the lower back. Now, going back to the shoulders, you can actually work out any exercise seated. We can do curls, we can do lateral raises all the way up. And one of the interesting things all the way, the deltoid has many pieces of origin. So as we always hear from somebody telling you about the shoulders, you can work the anterior, the medial, the posterior head. But really it's one muscle. So even though we can see sometimes like a bicep has a left and a right side or inside outside, here we have an origin in many places, but the insertion is in one place. So the shoulder is an interesting muscle which has many beginnings, but it always ties into one end. So it's almost like one muscle that splits into many. So changing just a slight bit of the angle will help you work on those particular areas. Now, doing shoulder presses this way, sitting up straight, will help you engage the lower back and more of your arms. You're actually using more core, and if you have tight hip flexors, you don't want to get stuck here, you can switch over to doing exercises to standing or laying down on your stomach. But any seated exercise will force you to stretch while building strength. One of the things you can do here is you can max out if you have the chance to do the heaviest weight possible, or if you want to max out by doing however many reps you can in different sets. You can start to build your strength with something like German volume training, 5 sets of 5, 6 sets of 6, 8 sets of 8, and 10 sets of 10, going on and on and on. You could do that to build the size or the muscular endurance, or just the overall strength you can build with heavy weights and single reps. Of course, you can also use bands, you can build your speed, you can build your timing. All those things are possible, but you could have to practice. And if you're having trouble sitting down, then possibly this is exactly the exercise that you want to start working on. Check it out.